All right, family, let's go ahead and get right into it. If you got a Bible, go ahead and turn it to Luke chapter 14. Luke chapter 14.
Let's go, babe.
I'm going to start it right here in verse 25. Large crowds were traveling with Jesus. And you know, on Easter Sunday, there are large crowds gathered all over the world to celebrate the resurrection today. It says large crowds are traveling with Jesus, and turning to them he said, so if Jesus was here at any Easter service around the world, I think this is what he'd say. He says, if anyone would come to me and not hate his father and mother, his wife and children, his brothers and sisters, yes, even his own life, he cannot be my disciple. And anyone who does not carry his cross and follow me cannot be my disciple. You know, this is Easter Sunday as we celebrate Jesus' victory over the cross. And this service is every indication, every facet of this service is a celebration of that. But I don't want to talk about just Jesus' cross this morning. I want to talk about your cross. And the title of my lesson this morning is Carry Your Cross. Amen. And we're going to look at a man who we often forget had to carry a cross. Let's turn here to Luke chapter 23.
Come on, bro. Talk, man.
Luke chapter 23.
Come on, babe.
And here in Luke chapter 23, at this point, Jesus had come before Pilate. He'd been flogged. He had the cross on his back, and he was walking to Golgotha to be crucified. But we pick it up here in chapter 23, verse 26, where he says, they led him away. They seized Simon from Cyrene, who was on his way in from the country, and put the cross on him, and made him carry it behind Jesus. You know, here we see that this man, Simon from Cyrene, he's just in town, right? He's not a disciple of Jesus. He doesn't know Jesus. He's just in town. And here the centurions, they see this guy. They say, hey, come carry this cross. Now, Simon, he was from Libya, northern Africa. And where he was from to Jerusalem was a 2-week trip. It was 1,100 miles. And what's interesting is we see him come up earlier in Mark chapter 15 as he's the father of Rufus and Alexander. Rufus and Alexander, they were disciples. But this guy wasn't. This guy was not a disciple of Jesus. But here from this passage this morning, I want to mine 3 points right here. 3 things that all of us can take and learn from this man Simon, who has 1 verse in the entire Bible.
Wow.
My first point is crosses come when you least expect it.
Oh, come on, bro. Come on, good.
The reality is when Simon woke up that morning, he had 0 idea that he'd be carrying a cross. And we see that Simon's response was, yes, he took the cross, but it's because he was either going to take a cross or he could be facing death right there. Because the guys around him, they had swords, they had spears. They said, hey, carry this cross. He said, okay, yes, sir. Right? But at the end of the day, this guy was not, his heart was not to carry the cross. In the same way, though, you may have a cross in your life that you don't want to carry. But we got to understand is that the cross is in front of you, and you've got to carry. You're either going to carry it and persevere and get through that, or that cross is going to crush you.
Dang. Come on, babe.
You know, a lot of people that day faced the cross. We saw his disciples started to even see a flicker of the cross. What did his disciples do? They fled. Peter fled. Judas fled. And they all had their own justification. Right? Peter fled, but he said, you know what? all right, I see the cross. I see what Jesus is going to follow. Jesus is going through. I'm going to follow at a distance. So he justified. Judas said, yeah, I'm going to turn Jesus over to the cross, but he'll probably get out of it. You even see Pontius Pilate, right, who had the power over the cross to keep Jesus from it. What did he do? He washed his hands. Yet even Jesus, who had no reason, had least reason of anybody to face the cross that day, was the only one to respond righteously. In Luke chapter 23, verse 24, he forgave those who sinned against him. And later on, he not only forgives the sins of those around him, he prays for those that Jesus would forgive them because they knew not what they did. And we see Simon, besides Jesus, the only one to truly answer the call to carry the cross. What's really convicting is when non-disciples are more willing to carry the cross than we are.
Dang.
Right? You know, it's so interesting. I yesterday was on Facebook, and I saw that there was a friend of a friend, and it came across on my Facebook feed because somebody shared it. But they started a GoFundMe because this wife, her husband, had suffered a heart attack and he was in the hospital. And she posted a GoFundMe and said, hey, you know, he works 2 jobs to support our family. We have no income. We need help. In less than 2 weeks, she raised $15,000. A cross came she didn't expect, but you know what? She got it done. She raised 15 grand. In the same way, those of us in the church, you know, we knocked out our missions there in February, then boom, summer missions. And it's a cross that many of us didn't expect. But the question is, are we going to respond and take on the cross and respond righteously and go to it, or are we going to run from it? There's two differences. There's 2 opportunities we have. And what we could just look even to people in the world who are willing to take the cross if they truly believe in the cause. And I believe Special Missions is an incredible time for us to take on that cross, because when we said Jesus is Lord, we said that, man, Jesus' dream is now our dream. And we want to see the world evangelized. Yep. Come on, bro. And I am so proud of the South Bay. In so many ways, we have carried the cross. We've seen over weekly editions this year in the South Bay Super Region. We knocked out our winter missions. We've seen many answer the call to go on supplemental mission teams, both to Salt Lake, to Santa Barbara. But you got to understand is that God is not finished with the South Bay this morning. That God is just getting started. But we have to remember that the cross is going to come when we least expect it. My second point is the cross is given because God believes you can handle it. You know, here Simon was chosen to carry Jesus' cross. It wasn't like they flipped a coin and they said, hey, you carry it. There was a reason he was chosen. Why? The reality is he was probably really tall, and he looked and the people who were making that call, they said, hey, we need to pick somebody who can carry. So they didn't pick a woman, they didn't pick a child, they picked somebody who probably looked like Cole Gilbert right here. Yeah. Right? They said, hey, that guy's taller than everybody. It looks like he can carry this. He says, let's give it to him. And in the same way, whatever cross that you have in your life right now, whether that's financial hardship, whether that's school, whether that's a tough household you got to persevere through, whatever it is, God's put that in front of you because he knows that you can handle it. Come on, bro. Now, it's a little bit of a paradox because the cross in front of us, we can handle it, but we also can't handle it. What I mean by this is let's turn to 1 Corinthians chapter 10.
Okay.
Come on, bro. Come on, bro.
1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 12 says, so if you think you are standing firm, be careful that you don't fall. No temptation has seized you except what is common to man. And God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. But when you are tempted, he will also provide a way out so that you can stand up under it. See, here the scriptures say that, hey, whatever cross is on you, you can stand up under it. But let's look here in 2 Corinthians chapter 1.
Come on, bro. Come on.
2 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 8 reads, "We do not want you to be uninformed, brothers and sisters, about the hardships we suffered in the province of Asia. We were under great pressure, far beyond our ability to endure, so we despaired even of life. Indeed, in our hearts we felt the sentence of death. But this happened that we might not rely on ourselves, but on God, who raises the dead. He has delivered us from such a deadly peril, and he will deliver us. On him we have set our hope that he will continue to deliver us. As you help us by your prayers, then many will give thanks on our behalf for the gracious favor granted us in answer to the prayers of many." See, here the scripture says that these men and women here, they felt so much pressure. It says it was beyond our ability to endure. And the reality is that when crosses come into our life that we can't handle, and they're going to come, we have two options. We have to turn to something, right? It's like when you get under that barbell right there, and you can lift it up, but then it's like, all right, I can lift it up and go about right here. But it's like, right there. You know, for those who go to the gym, you know, some people try to look tough and they put a lot of weight on, or maybe the leg press, and they're just going right here. All right? No, I can do it. I got it. I said, no. All the way down. Get those knees at 90 degrees. Right? And when you fully take on that cross, then the question's going to be answered, can you really carry it? Now, when we're not doing well spiritually, and a cross comes into our life, and we're not close to God, we're going to turn to something. If it's too much, what are we going to turn to? Man, this is too much stress. I'm going to turn to pornography. It's too much stress. Man, I'm just going to check out. I'm going to turn to laziness. I'm not going to talk about it and look at anything. I'm just going to turn to sleep. I'm going to turn to bitterness. Maybe it's too much. It's a tough situation. You just get angry. But we're going to cope in some way. And sometimes we try to kind of just tilt the cross like a little bit on the ground, so it's like we're still partly carrying it. You know, it's like a brother asks for a ride to work, and you don't want to do it. It's like, hey, why don't you ask Johnny? You know, he's actually working right now too. And you don't want to give that brother a ride. You don't want to give that sister a ride, but you say, oh. All right. And you do it, but hoping that they get like, man, they're never going to ask me again after this, though. And that's not really self-denial right there. That's just turned into a different sin, right? And so sometimes, rather than deal with the one sin, you're like, I'm not going to turn straight to this. I'm going to turn to this, or turn to this, or turn to this to cope with the stress of that cross in my life. And I just want to call all of us this morning to understand is that whatever cross you have, God understands you can handle it, but not by yourself. And we have to recommit ourselves this week that whatever, maybe we've been coping the wrong way, and it takes a while to get back on. It can take a lot of humility to get back on straight. You know, it's like you look at somebody, say, yeah, I can squat 300 pounds, 400 pounds, and then you see their form. It's like, oh, that's not a full squat. But then it's the humility they have to, wait, what do I have to go all the way? Well, I can only do like 135 pounds like that. Well, then that's all you can squat. And the humility of going down in weights. The humility to have the proper form. Right? And spiritually, we have to have the proper form. Then when we try to cope in unspiritual ways, eventually it's just going to hurt us and it could kill us spiritually. Understand that if we truly lean on God, we can handle the cross that's put in front of us. You know, sometimes when the cross comes before us, we don't understand why. And that can harden our heart right there as well. You know, I know for Devin and myself, we were moving to San Francisco and from Sacramento. And about a month before we came, the Demetrius told us that, hey, you know, we're going to have you guys lead the singles ministry. I said, the singles man. I said, what? I mean, I don't know half the people in the church now. I've never really been tied in with the singles ministry. Why would we? And then I was like, man, we got to deal with Santa Cruz. We're playing a mission team. I mean, there's been people who've been here for 6 years. And for me, I started to turn to all these things. Wait, why am I getting this? Why am I getting this? But it's so grateful for discipling, so grateful for people in my life, and for us really taking that on. And it's been an incredible honor to lead the singles ministry. To be able to build great friendships with the singles, to have great devotionals. And just be able to work with so many brothers and sisters, work with brothers like his Kia to get like 30 pizzas. And just the incredible hearts of brothers like JP locking us down facilities. And so grateful this next Saturday, we're going to a San Jose Earthquakes game. And it's open to everybody. So if you want to you've never been to a professional soccer game, you want to check it out, come see me after. And we'll get you lined up right there. But we have to understand is that God isn't out to hurt us. He isn't out to make our life worse. The reality is he wants to do great things with us. But the only way he can do that is if we handle the cross that's put in our life. A cross is given because God believes you can handle it. You know, my third and final point is super interesting here is that when Simon was when Simon woke up that morning, not only did Simon not know what he was going to be carrying the cross, there's a very real likelihood he didn't even know who Jesus was at that point. And so what's so interesting is when Simon goes and he's in Jerusalem and they say, hey, you. And for many, he might not even know they were talking to him. He's like, yeah, you. Yeah, we need you to come carry. And as puzzled as he was, as he carried that cross, he was as close to Jesus as he would ever be. Wow. As he carried the cross. My third and final point is when you carry the cross, you are the closest to Jesus. Come on, bro. Let's turn here to Luke chapter 9.
Come on, babe.
Come on. Come on, bro. Come on, bro. Come on, Enos.
In Luke chapter 9, verse 23, the Bible reads, then he said to them all, if anyone would come after me, he must deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me. For whoever wants to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for me will save it. You know, here it says the one way to follow Jesus is by carrying a cross. And it's so important for us to realize is that I love, as Devin shared so vulnerably in communion, it was amazing. But, as she spoke about, walking that narrow road is that when you try to do it with baggage, you can't get through, right? You can't get on the road. You can't get through the gate when you're carrying all the baggage in your life. And Jesus is calling us to carry a cross, not because, hey, I want to make your life extremely hard, not because he wants to separate us from the things we love or not. No. Jesus wants us to carry our cross so that we can be close to him. You know, when I think of somebody who's close to Jesus, I think of Carmen from Santa Cruz. And Carmen is the most incredible sister. You know, she's always the first to give her heart, and the first to share her quiet time, the first to share her faith. And her transformation has been mind-blowing. Has been mind-blowing from every time I've seen her, she's wearing tracksuits to now she's wearing dresses and has incredible hair. And I love tracksuits, and honestly, I've been envious of her tracksuits. They're beautiful. Those are too. But her transformation just in her spirit has been incredible. I still remember first meeting her. Ironically, it was at a sharing time. at UC Santa Cruz, and she showed up before any of the disciples at that point. She hadn't even been baptized yet. So she was setting the tone early. But what's so interesting is, she was sharing, she sent to our group chat with the region, and she said, last fall, before I was a disciple, I had a class with a friend at Cabrillo College, and she said it was before becoming a disciple. It was an English class, and she wrote in the chat, she said, my physical appearance matched my spiritual reality. I was full of darkness, pain, sorrow, and fear. And pretty much every weekday, this friend witnessed me come and be a part of class, and my pain was radiant. Sure, but then something happened. And that something was, Carmen studied the Bible, and January 30th, she was baptized as a disciple. And what was so awesome is now this semester, that same friend has a class with her. And this friend came out to Bible talk on Thursday evening earlier this month. And as they were driving home, she said, Carmen, something's different about you. She said, you look fulfilled.
Wow.
And that's nothing but the Spirit of God working through Carmen right there. But it started with her making a decision to carry the cross. She studied the Bible, but it wasn't like a 3-day conversion.
No, it wasn't.
Right? It was not a 5-day conversion. It wasn't a 1-week conversion. Right? This was a tumultuous process of her softening her heart and really seeing God's plan for her life. But how awesome it's been as she made the decision. She saw through the fear. She saw through the anxiety to pick up her cross and follow Jesus. This is a sister who's close to Jesus. We can all do well in imitating Carmen. Amen. And I want us to be reminded of one more aspect of the cross. If we could turn here to Exodus chapter 15.
Come on, babe.
Come on.
Exodus chapter 15.
Go there.
And in Exodus chapter 15, verse 22. Reads, then Moses led Israel from the Red Sea, and they went into the desert of Shur. For 3 days they traveled in the desert without finding water. When they came to Marah, they could not drink its water because it was bitter. And that is why the place is called Marah. So the people grumbled against Moses, saying, what are we to drink? Then Moses cried out to the Lord, and the Lord showed him a piece of wood. He threw it into the water, and the water became sweet. There the Lord made a decree and a law for them, and there he tested them. He said, if you listen carefully to the voice of the Lord your God and do what is right in his eyes, if you pay attention to his commands and keep all his decrees, I will not bring on you any of the diseases I brought on the Egyptians, for I am the Lord who heals you. Wow. Then they came to a land where there were 12 springs and 70 palm trees, and they camped there near the water. And here we see that the solution, going all the way back to the time of Exodus, that the solution was a piece of wood.
Wow.
That here Moses threw the piece of wood in the water, and it gave life to the people.
Dang. That's another.
Ironically, the very thing we don't want to carry is the very solution
Oh my God.
to the trials we face.
Crazy.
And I want to encourage us as we close out, as Moses did, as Jesus did, and as Isaac will begin to do today, to make the decision to trust in that piece of wood and understand that the answer is in the cross. Let's make the decision, all of us, to carry your cross. I love you guys.